Hello, my name's Andy. I'm the Ginger Pond Keeper. Welcome to episode 101. Right, in this very quick video, I'm just kind of doing a reaction to something that was spoken about in Gaz's Koi Pond's live show, which was last Thursday. Now, that thing that was spoken about was my pond. Now, if you don't know Gaz's Koi Pond live shows, it's something he does every Thursday. They're really, really good. They're mostly koi centric, which means sometimes it's not stuff that, you know, is particularly pertinent to me. So it'll be about different species of koi and shows and things like that. So that's not really my bag, but there's lots of other stuff too. They talk about goldfish, they talk about axolotls. There's a whole range of subjects, and there's stuff that they talk about which relates to any kind of pond. And it's a really open show. It's not an elitist kind of koi show at all. So I really recommend, if you've got a pond at all, especially if you've got koi, definitely tune in every Thursday. It's really good. Now what they do is they have a little section where they do a sort of koi appreciation. So they show various koi. And I knew from a post on their Facebook page, I think they were going to show some ponds. So as I haven't got koi and I haven't been able to join in with the koi appreciation, I thought I'd just show my pond. And I wasn't really sure if they were going to do that on the show, but I thought I'll put it in anyway. Obviously, I chose a clip from my pond from the summer when it's looking its best, and not like it's looking now, which it always looks a bit rough in the winter, which is fine. Anyway, I stuck it in there and I did join the show, but then for various reasons I had to leave the show. What I often do with Gaz's Koi Pond live show is I'll catch up with it the next day and maybe have a quick skim through it and see what was spoken about, because oftentimes you can find some interesting stuff. So anyway, I did scroll through and they did show some ponds, and one of the ponds they showed was mine. So I thought I'd play it, and I'll just reply as if I would if I'd been on the show or I'd been tuning in at the time.
That's a nice pond.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, it's cool.
That's the Ginger Pond
I
Keepers.
was going to say it's like the Ginger Pond Keepers, but
Yeah,
they're all
stunning
mirrors,
pond.
aren't they? Yeah.
Real natural look to it.
So anyway, yeah, you're right. That is my pond. Yes, it is very cool. In the summer, at least. Not so much now, as I said. Obviously, when I post to Facebook and I post to Gaz's group, I have to use my proper name. So I think that's why they were a little bit confused about whether it's my pond or not.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
I was going to say it would be a nightmare to treat it for like parasites, but if they're all mirrors in there, they're hard as nails anyway. You wouldn't have to ever. They're
They're all
proper
these new
survivors,
ones.
aren't they?
So that's quite an interesting point that Lee's just said. Yeah, they are pretty tough, mirror carp, wild strain carp in general. And I think people often will talk about how wild strain carp are more robust and they're kind of less fragile than koi are. But it's quite hard to actually find any good research that bears that out. It kind of makes sense. You'd think with all the selective breeding that goes in to making koi, you'd probably breed in a little bit of fragility. But I can't find... I've looked quite a lot for research, and, you know, some of the research will tell you. So there's a couple of bits of research that says that wild strain carp are less likely to catch KHV and have a higher survival rate if they do, although their mortality rates are still really high. Crucian carp, interestingly, which are quite a different species of carp, have the highest tolerance against KHV and the highest survival rate. But as I said, they're physiologically a different species to koi and common carp. Similarly, with carp edema virus, although infection rates between wild strain and koi are similar, the viral load, when they've done research, seems to be a lot higher in koi than in common carp, which should obviously affect how ill they get, which, you know, viral load is something we're a little bit more aware of after COVID and such. We understand, you know, the viral load is a big indicator of how poorly someone, or in this case an animal, might get. Having said that though, there are other parasitic infections. for instance Myxospora infections, that koi and goldfish are far less susceptible to than wild strain carp. So, you know, there's a kind of a mixed message there, and it would be interesting if there is any good research, and if you know of it, let me know, because I'm always interested in, you know, hearing what people have to say is really important, but also finding out some good scientific research is, you know, before you start quoting facts about, you know, the comparative health robustness of animals. It's good to know properly. I mean, certainly anecdotally, when my carp have had a parasite infection, going on to what Lee was talking about, which is twice in sort of over 8 years, they've never really presented as being ill. Certainly not as ill as I've seen people's koi have presented. Obviously it depends what parasite, but you know, aside from flicking and jumping, they've always behaved completely normally. Ate their food, they've never had clamp fins, they've never become inactive, they've always just carried on as normal, and the parasites have been an irritation to them. Now I guess the challenge in treating that Lee was speaking about possibly was related to PP, due to the fact my pond has a really high organic load of all the plants, which I know kind of, you know, has complications for PP. The actual challenge, however, in treating the carp in my pond is having other species, and over time that's been tench and crucian carp and rudd. At the moment it's just rudd, which does affect and limits what treatment options you have. I mean, to be honest, I don't use PP anyway, so even without those species I wouldn't be using PP.
All these new ones, the ones he had before, got completely wiped out by the otter. The
otter got them, yeah.
Really?
A lot of them, and all his rudd.
Yeah, and as Gaz mentioned there, last year I lost 4 carp, 14 rudd, 1 tench and 1 crucian carp. Only the rudd, the 40 odd rudd fry survived after an otter attack. And since then I've restocked with the 4 mirrors. I hope to get a new common, and I think what I've put in place has kind of helped prevent otters getting in my garden, but time will tell. But yeah, it was really nice for people to give some feedback on the pond, and you know, I know it's a very different pond than most people have.
I was on Instagram
Lee's
the other day.
now started to talk about someone else's pond, which, you know, keep talking about mine. I'm only joking. But yeah, it was really nice to, you know, it's a very different pond to lots of koi keepers have. Although, you know, it's broadly similar to Gaz's. They're both in-ground ponds, similar sort of length. I think mine's a bit wider. And I've got more plants, but you know, it's really nice to have it mentioned. And thanks very much, Gaz, and the panel. And I hope to tune into the live this week, and I may even stay for the whole show. But yeah, it's a great show, so if you haven't seen it, definitely tune into it. I'll give a link in the description. I dare say if you watch my videos, you probably are well aware of Gaz and his program. But anyway, that was the quick little video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. I've got plans for another video. Well, there's 3 plans. There's one I want to talk about monitoring, and I don't mean monitoring the water, I mean monitoring your pond. I've got a plan for that, which I hope to get done over the next week or so. I've got a long-term video that can only get made if something else plays ball, which I'll talk about in the future. And also I should have a new fish coming soon, which will be another video. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I will see you next time.